I'm the founder and CEO of United We Mask. I went to UCLA for undergraduate school, and then I actually went to Columbia to study biostatistics and public health for a master's. And now I work at L'Oreal in skincare innovation for cosmetics. So just to give you guys a quick background of who we are as an organization, United We Mask started as a passion project in between my work calls at L'Oreal. And our goal as an organization and a nonprofit is to encourage sound public health practices by providing homemade masks to our communities, leaving N95 medical masks for members at higher risk of COVID exposure. As a New Yorker, when the pandemic came over to the US, New York was a huge epicenter. And so I quickly rallied my teams of sewists and friends that were enthusiastic about sewing to make masks for our community. We also sell masks on our platform. So for every mask purchase, one is donated to an essential worker or person in need. But because we are a nonprofit, any money that we get as revenue is put back into these workshops that we run and see here. We also have a group of passionate people who are interested in sewing, and they create designs to think creatively about PPE solutions. We also know that the traditional masks may not all suit everyone's needs. And so our group our goal as a collective is to also think about innovative PPE solutions so that no matter race, socioeconomic status, job, or age, everyone has access to the PPE that they need to help keep their community safe. So we also know as Girl Scout leaders, you guys are super creative. And so we would love to hear from you if you guys also think of new mask designs or new PPE designs that you think are relevant in your community. So we have several ways that we create meaningful impact as well. We as an organization work with the collective to design and create new PPE designs, as well as work with some of our traditional templates that we'll be showing you later today. We make the masks, and we also work with coordinators to help drop off masks for organizations in need. So within our network, we work with hospitals, schools, domestic violence shelters, homeless shelters, as well as organizations that support the essential work of protesting for BLM. And then on a separate note, we also host these workshops working with you guys so that you guys have the tools you need to make a difference in your community.
Okay, so one thing to keep in mind, this is a mask making workshop, but we also want to recognize that mask wearing is also important to pair with hand washing and social distancing. So to stay far apart and to also wash your hands frequently will lower the risk of encountering the virus. So we have a few mask making tips. There are a ton of different fabrics you can use out there, but we recommend cotton or cotton flannel. We recommend having thicker fabric just to, so you can check this by holding this up to the light. So if a lot of light is coming through, then it may not be as big as you want it to, and you might have to add filters. A couple of the filters are the coffee filter, the vacuum lining, paper towels, other sorts of fabric. You can get really creative with this, and you can also get really creative with the straps that you use for your ears, depending on if your ears are sensitive to the elastic. You can use ribbon, bias tape, other stretchy fabrics. And for the mask, it's important that you have a good fit. So you want to make sure that it's covering your nose and mouth. And one of the ways to make it more comfortable, or maybe avoid fogging your glasses, is to add a metal strip or a pipe cleaner, just so that it hugs your nose bridge and makes sure that it's covering all of your nose, all of your mouth, and fitting really comfortably on your face. And there are a ton of different designs out there. Today we'll be helping you sew a adjustable strap pleated face mask. So this one is on the far left. But there are also a ton of different masks, such as the one in the middle, which is a fitted nose point mask, or the one on the right as well. So these ones give a more fitted face, fitted shape around your face. But all faces are different, and all faces have different shapes. So the one that we're sewing today actually can be used by more people.
Yeah, so we're ready. We're all here for the fun part, the mask making demo. Just quickly, it might be easier for you guys to either put Zoom on speaker mode so you can see JJ showing the steps in a bigger screen, or you can also pin her screen. But again, if you guys have any questions, feel free to type them in the chat, or directly to your account mates or to us, and we'll keep track of the questions. And also, if you want, you can also speak up and let us know if you want us to go back to a step or repeat a step. But passing it on to JJ, and we'll start with this mask making portion.
Hey guys, okay. So now for the fun stuff. I know this is what you all came here for. So hopefully you have all your supplies with you or near you. As Jen said, and as Olivia also said, this is recorded. So if you do want to also listen, or because of time constraints, we might be moving a little bit quicker than you'd like. We will send you all the step-by-step so that you can follow, or so that you can sew on your own afterwards. And you can always shoot your camp aides, Olivia, a question as well, and she'll help pass it along to us if she needs help. And we can always answer your questions afterwards too. But again, don't be afraid to type a question into the chat, and we can help answer as best as we can as we move along. So the first thing you're gonna do is, hopefully you have your fabric swatch with you. You've cut your fabric swatch. If not, you can do that now. What we do is we normally cut out a little pattern square here, 9 inches wide and 8 inches tall. And you're gonna fold your fabric in half and place the square on the fold so that you could cut a long fabric swatch. For those of you who already cut your fabric swatch, that's great. Is anyone cutting, or does everyone have their fabric swatch already pre-cut? You want to type it into the chat if you haven't cut your fabric swatch yet? Okay, perfect. So so we have a couple of people who are cutting their swatches. No worries. Go ahead and cut your swatches. I am going to flash the next step for people that have already cut their swatch, but don't worry, we'll move slowly. So once you finish cutting your swatch, you can join us at the next step. But for those of you who have it cut, you should have this long rectangle with the short sides on the top and bottom, and the longer sides on the left and right. Okay, perfect. Again, if you can mute yourselves if you don't have a question, that will be helpful for the whole group. Okay, so I'm going to just introduce like the orientation of the fabric really quick. So facing me, we have what we call the wrong side of the fabric, and that's because it looks a little bit lighter, it's faded for those of you who have prints. On the bottom side, on the underside, is the pretty part of the fabric. It's nice and vibrant. Some of you guys don't have a wrong side and a right side, but for those of you who do, just watch out for that. You want the wrong side facing up towards you. Okay, and then you have the short sides at the top and bottom, and then you have your long sides on your left and right. So that's just how we're going to orient it. So for the first step, what you're going to do is you're going to take the top of the short side and fold it down 1/4 inch. For those of you who don't have, a ruler, you can use your thumb. You're gonna fold the top of the rectangle down to the bottom of your nail bed right here. So you're just gonna fold it down like that. And then you're gonna take one pin and pin it down. So hopefully you have a sewing pin with you, Or if you don't like sewing pins, you have an iron and you can iron it if you'd like. And you're just gonna pin it down like that.
Mommy, my Nintendo has internet.
How are we doing so far? So I think there's some questions about non-sewing. The non-sewing version, right, Olivia, we'll be going over in the afternoon. So if you wanna, you're welcome, of course, to stay and sit through this one and listen to the hand sewing one, but we'll go through the non-sewing one in a bit.
The no-sew is from 4 to 5 p.m. and the link for that is in the email we just sent out and on the website.
Also, for those of you asking the dimensions for the fabric, just to quickly jump in, when it's unfolded, so when it's open, it should be 9 by 16 inches. And when it's folded, it should be 9 by 8.
And I think, Olivia, you'll be sending the video recording after the meeting, right?
Yes.
Okay. So
And
again, oh, yep.
Sorry, if people are having trouble like seeing or following along, there's also a PowerPoint that was sent out earlier in the chat. So if you scroll to the top of the chat and click the link, you'll be able to see the same PowerPoint and like follow through past steps if you're behind.
So don't worry, I know sometimes it's a little bit quick for people, but you can follow along on the video or see the PowerPoint afterwards and use this just to educate, just to quickly see what it looks like in real time. So again, I'm just going to demonstrate it. You have your rectangle fabric swatch here. It should be 9 inches by 16 inches. I'm just gonna place it on the table in front of me. And you're gonna orient the fabric so that the wrong side is facing up towards you. So the wrong side means it's like a faded print. Some people might not have this. It might look the same on both sides. But if you have printed fabric, the faded fabric will face up towards you and the pretty side of the fabric will be under. Okay, so you're gonna take the small side length of the rectangle, right? It should be 9 inches, and you're gonna fold it down 1/4 inch. And if you don't have a ruler, you can use your thumb. Fold it from the top of your thumb to maybe the bottom of your nail bed. And just fold it down and pin it or iron it. Okay, then you're gonna take you're gonna flip it and take the other small side and do the exact same thing. Just fold it down 1/4 inch and pin it. Are we doing okay, guys? Okay. So hopefully you have a needle and thread, or someone can help you thread your needle. And you're gonna do a running stitch, which is the most basic sewing stitch. And it's okay if it's not perfect, guys. But you're gonna do a running stitch on the bottom of this hem here that you see. So you guys just created a hem in sewing. You created a fold so that it looks nice and straight. So you're gonna sew a line from one end to the other end. And we're gonna do it via a running stitch, which I'll show you how to do that. So you take your needle and thread, and you're gonna poke your needle through the fabric like so, and then poke it back up, and then pull it through.
If you're not sure, oh, sorry, what it means to thread your needle, it just means sticking your string through the top part of your needle. So in case you weren't sure about that part.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Olivia. So yeah, you should have your string and you should see a little hole through your needle. And you should be able to poke it through and tie a knot at the bottom. So again, we're gonna repeat that. Poke the needle through the fabric, poke it back up, and then pull it through. And then when you get really good, you can do a couple at once. You poke it through the fabric, poke it back up, poke it through the fabric, poke it back up, and then pull it through. Poke it through the fabric, poke it back up, poke it through the fabric, poke it through. And if you keep doing this, you are creating a running stitch, which is honestly probably the hardest part of this tutorial, is just learning the stitch name. Be careful about your pins too. I will say they can poke you, but if you do poke yourself, it's okay, it happens. Hopefully it doesn't poke too hard. If you have poked yourself and it's bleeding or something, go ahead and stop and go get a Band-Aid. Take care of yourself first. Does anyone have questions about the running stitch part? Okay, everyone's quiet. Everyone's sewing. Okay, I'm just gonna show you, let's say you're at the end of your fabric. Now you're not just going to cut, you're not going to just cut the thread, because otherwise if someone pulls the string, the whole thing comes out and then you lost what you just did. So when you get to the end, right, you see the end here, I'm lifting it up. You're gonna take your needle and back trace to your last stitch, and you're gonna poke it through the fabric, poke it back up, but don't pull it all the way through. You're gonna see this little hole here, this little like circle loop here. See this circle loop of thread? You're gonna take your needle and push it through the loop, push it through the loop. Kind of like, you know, when you're tying your shoelaces and you see those big hoops when you're tying the bow, it's like you're taking the end of your shoelace and poking it through the hoop. So it's a similar action to like how you're tying your shoelaces with the little bow hoops. So again, I'll repeat it and I'll show you. You see my last stitch here? I'm going to put the needle through my last stitch, poke it through the fabric, poke it back up, and then with this little hoop, put my needle through the hoop and pull it through. And the reason why we do that is we tie a knot, right? So that when we cut, after you do that 2 times, you can cut this thread here and the whole stitch doesn't fall through. So then after I do that twice, I cut the thread.
Yeah, so this step can get a little tricky. Do you girls want us to repeat it and show you again? You guys can give us a thumbs up. That's a yes. If you need help with this back stitching part, yes. Okay, JJ, can you go back to the step again?
Yeah, so lucky for you, we're gonna do it on the other side too. So I'm just gonna show you on the other side. But when you're done, this is kind of what it looks like. You have a fold like here, and then you have the stitches on the bottom. So that's how that should look like. Okay, so I'm gonna go back, but I'm gonna show you on the opposite side because you have to do it on both sides. So we're gonna whoop, flip it. And again, you should see over here, I have my pin from when I folded it down. So I'm just gonna do this side really quickly. But you have to rethread your needle once you cut the thread. and then you're gonna tie a knot at the end of it. And what you're gonna do is after you do that, you complete the back stitch on the bottom again. So poke your needle through, poke it back up, and I'm gonna do it really quickly so that we get to the back stitch part that you guys were asking about. Oops. Seems to be a knot in my thread.
Okay, while JJ's doing that, we did get some questions to go back to the previous slide. Just to look at the slide, I'm gonna go back, but you guys can keep working. Oh, that's not the best. So Mirabelle, here's the slide before the one we're working on right now. Okay, JJ, we're getting a question of how much of the fabric we're supposed to fold on that previous step.
Yeah, so when you take your fabric, you're gonna fold down 1/4 of an inch. So if you have a ruler, you can measure that. This is from the short side. You can use a ruler or you can use your thumb. Let's say you have the top of your fabric like at the top of your thumb, and then you're gonna fold it down to the bottom of like your nail bed or your knuckle right here. So that's about 1/4 of an inch. So that's how you're gonna fold it down 1/4 of an inch, and then you're gonna place a pin in the center to hold it, to hold the fold. Okay, so we're back at the end of our stitch on the other side. So I'm going to show you again the back stitch. So as you can see here, we made all of our stitches on the bottom of the fold. And now we have to tie off a knot before we cut the thread. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my needle and retrace my last stitch here, poke it through the fabric, poke it back up. So see it coming back up. See the needle right there, coming back up. And you should have this big loop here. Like, see that loop? Like when you tie your shoelaces, the loop to a bow. And you're gonna take your needle before you pull it through and put it through the bow loop. Then you can pull it through. And that ties a knot so that it doesn't move. And you're gonna do that 2 times so that it holds your stitch into place. Then you're gonna cut the thread. Okay, so you're gonna do that on both sides. So both short sides, guys. So that's 9 inches. So I'll show you, see, I have my large rectangle here. I did that activity at the top. I folded it and then I sewed it. And then I did it on the bottom. I folded it and I sewed it. Any questions, guys?
Okay, I guess we have no questions. Again, if you guys go further and you are confused, you can also chat us, or we'll also provide videos and tutorials later on. But for now, we can move on and you guys can let us know if you want us to go back.
Okay, so the next, we're almost there really if you think about it. The next thing we're gonna do is you're gonna take the top short end and fold it down an inch. So if you remember carefully, I'm just gonna push my video back a bit. You're gonna have a large rectangle here. So we have the large rectangle, we have the short end at the top, the short end at the bottom, and the long ends on your right and left. You're gonna take your top short end and fold it down 1 inch. So again, fold it down 1 inch. You might not have a ruler, so you can use your thumb again. You can fold, if the top of my thumb is at the top of the fabric, you can fold it down to my knuckle, your knuckle right here. And that's about 1 inch. So if my top of my thumb is at the top of the fabric, you're gonna fold it down to the bottom of your knuckle. You're gonna fold it like that. Okay. And then you're gonna put a pin in the center so it doesn't move, or you're gonna iron it. Wanna do it again? Are you okay?
This is the hand-sewn version.
Then you're gonna take the bottom of your fabric, so you remember it's also a short end. And then you're gonna bring it up, as you see in my video, slowly bring it up and meet the other end. And it's slightly gonna overlap because this is going to be your pocket. Do you see here? This is like a little pocket. And that's where you can put your filters. I see someone still sewing. It's okay. Definitely everyone works at their different pace. The only reason why we kind of have to move a little fast, and that's why it's recorded, is just because of time. So again, if you want to watch this video afterwards, so that you can follow step by step afterwards, that'll be helpful. It just might be helpful to watch my video now so that you can ask any questions that you might have. But I'll show this step again while you're sewing. So after you finished these little hems, these little stitches on the short ends, you're going to, again, the short side of the rectangle is at the top and at the bottom. And then you have your long sides on your right and on your left. You're going to take the top of your fabric and fold it down 1 inch if you have a ruler. If you don't have a ruler, you can use your thumb, and you can match the top of your thumb to the top of your fabric and fold it down to the knuckle part of your hand, and that's about 1 inch. So fold it down to the knuckle part and pin. And then you're gonna take your other short side that was on the bottom, bring it slowly up. You don't have to do it slowly, I'm just showing you slowly actually. And overlap where the other fold ends. So slightly overlap it like that. Overlapping, overlapping. And that creates this little pocket where you'll put your little coffee filter, paper towel, anything like that. Again, I know it's fast, guys, but you can watch this video afterwards, and if you guys think there are any questions, or if you guys have any questions, we're happy to answer. And you can, even if you have questions afterwards, you can always send them to Olivia or some of the camp aides, and they can help for the message. But this is just to give you guys an idea, just to get started. And if you guys don't, and if you wanted to just try sewing and it's still not, it's just not working for you, every time I say take your needle and thread and stitch, you can use a stapler and just staple across. But just be very careful when you do that because sometimes the staples can poke. So you just want to make sure that you've completed the staples and nothing sharp is sticking out. Okay. Are we good, Jen, or shall we?
Anyone have any questions? If you're still sewing, we'll move on. But then again, like JJ said, we'll provide all the videos and you can rewatch this one. But if you have any questions as of now, we can always go back and show you the step again. So don't be afraid to speak up. Don't be afraid to chat us below and let us know. And Camp HT, if you guys can help us and if you see any of your girls wanting to ask a question, you can let us know too. Okay, JJ, I think we can move on and then we'll come back later if we need to.
Okay. So now for the fun part.
Sorry, 1 second. Someone's asking, how do you tie off the end again?
Okay, yeah, I can show you. We have two. I'll show you two options actually, so that just in case this is the tying off of the end part is too hard for you, there's another option. So I'm just going to pretend that I just finished a stitch here. So if you look at, you see the stitches that we just made, these are the stitches. You're going to take your needle. Mine looks like there are a bunch of stitches because I just keep redoing it over and over again. But you're going to retrace your last stitch and poke your needle through where your last stitch ended. Poke it through the fabric, poke it back up, and then you should have a loop. See this little loop here? Sorry, there's so many threads. But do you see that loop, guys? See that little loop? You're going to take your needle and pull it through the loop and then pull through. And you're going to do that 2 times. Otherwise, if that's too hard for you, you can also, when you cut your thread, so let's say you're at the end, when you cut your thread, give yourself enough thread to take the 2 ends. So see these, here I'm gonna put it against some fabric swatches so you can see the contrast. You can take you see the 2 ends when you cut your thread? You can just take those 2 ends and tie it in a knot. Like you're tying a knot in your shoelaces. Just tie it, knot it 2 times. And then you can cut the extra off. That might be easier for you guys to tie off your stitch. Just tie it in a knot like you're knotting your shoelaces.
You can also try the square knot from today's skills if you already learned your Tuesday knots.
Oh, that's awesome. You guys know more knots than I probably can imagine. Okay, so we folded down 1 inch and took the bottom and met where that other one ends. Okay, so now for the fun part. Hopefully you have a ruler. If you don't, it's okay. We can make guesses like we've been doing with our thumbs. But I'm gonna just take a ruler to show you. So I'm gonna take the top of my ruler at the top of where my fabric square is. So the pocket is here. Remember where we folded the pocket? The pocket is at the top. I'm gonna take my ruler and place it at the top of my fabric swatch all the way to the bottom of my square here. So your numbers should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And my pocket is up here at the top. So again, I take my ruler, place it at the top of my square. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. As I move closer to my body. So I'm up here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It should be about 6.5 to 7 inches. Then I'm going to take these little sewing pins and place it at the 1-inch marker, the 2-inch marker, the 2.5-inch marker, 3.5-inch marker, 5 and 6. So if you can see here, I have all these little pins that serve as little markers. So at 1-inch, 2-inch, 2.5-inch, 3.5-inch, 4 and 5. Wait, 5 and 6. Do you need me to do it again? So again, if you place your ruler at the top of your fabric square and your pocket is up here, you're gonna have 1-inch, 2-inch, 3-inch, 4-inch, 5-inch, 6-inch. And I'm going to place pins at 1-inch, 2-inch, 2.5-inch, 3.5-inch, 5 and 6. Do you go through both layers? You can go through both layers to pin if you want, yes. It makes it easier, I think. But you're gonna take out the pins anyway, so just be careful. Any other questions? Okay, so I'm gonna do the next step. So you're gonna take your thumb and your index finger. Oh, yours ends at 5 inches. That's okay. Just put it as close as you can towards, maybe place your last marker at 4.5 inches, and you might have to do less folds, which is okay. That's not a big deal. So you would probably have a marker at 1-inch, 2-inch, 2.5-inch, 3-inch, 3-inch, 3.5-inch, 4-inch. But you might have less folds, and that's okay. Okay, so you're gonna take your thumbs and your pointer fingers, and they're gonna be like little crabs, just like that. You're gonna like pinch. And this is how you're going to create these little folds in a mask, but they're like your little pincher crabs. Okay, so with your little pincher crab fingers, you're going to take your pin at the 6-inch, your pin at the 6-inch mark and your pin at the 5-inch mark, and you're going to bring them together by pinching. So see how I created this little like mountain? It's a pinching mountain. And then once you do that, you're going to push down that mountain. See, it's a mountain, push it down. And then you're going to put a pin in it so that the fold stays. So you see, I created this little fold here in the mask. That's how you get the little pleats in your face mask. So then you're going to do it again with, so the 6 and 5, with the 3.5 pin and the 2.5 pin, you're gonna take your pinchy fingers, pinch them together to create a little mountain, and then push the mountain down. Pinch, push, pinch, push. and then put a little pin in it to hold it into place. So let's say you can only make 2 pleats. That's fine. That's okay. You might run out of space. What you don't want is you don't want to fold over where you created that little pocket. So see how I have this little pocket here? I don't want to pinch into the pocket. So sometimes I pinch too much in the folds, in my mountain folds, and run out of space. So if you only have room for 2 folds, that's okay too. You don't need 3 folds. It's whatever. The folds just make it a little more flexible so that when you put it on your nose, it creates a curvature shape. So it's not just a giant square that goes onto your face. It also allows it to stretch a little more flexibly over your chin and your nose. So I'm only going to do 2 mountains. I ran out of space too today, which is not a big deal if you only have space for 2 folds instead of 3. Otherwise, if you have space before your pocket, you can also take the 1-inch and 2-inch marker, pinch it together, and push down. Any questions? Okay. I'm just going to show the next step. We're basically done, guys. So what you're going to do next is hopefully you take your shoelaces or your sewing elastic, and you're going to see here, I have my little square. You're going to take your elastic and place it on the left side, and take your other elastic, and it could be shoelaces, ribbon, swimsuit, old swimsuit straps, or whatever you guys have, and take your other elastic and place it on the right side. So you should have what looks like a hot dog in front of you. You got your hot dog rectangle, right? It's longer width-wise than it's taller in height, so it's long, short on the left and right sides now. You're going to take your elastic and shoelaces and place it on the left, or take your elastic, shoelaces, or ribbon and place it on the right. So we're almost done. Any questions there? Can it be hair strings? So for hair tie, you mean hair ties, or what are hair strings? Do you mean these little like loopy hair strings? Okay, so for loopy hair strings, I recommend our non-sew tutorial that we'll show later this evening. The only reason why is you need the fabric to be a little bit longer because these hoops they're not that flexible. So it'll be a little bit longer than the patterns. The elastic should be 16 inches each. You want to demonstrate the pleats again really quickly? I will do that really quickly before showing the next step. Okay. And you can always reference the PowerPoint presentation again or the video afterwards. So you made your pocket. You can take your ruler and place it at the top of your square to the bottom of your square. So as I move closer to my body, which is right here, I have a 1-inch, 2-inch, 3-inch, 4-inch, 5-inch marker, and it should be about 6.5 inches to 7 inches in height. You're gonna take your pin and place it at 1 inch. Then at 2 inch, 2.5 inches, 3.5 inches, 4, and 5. Oops. Or sorry, 3.5 inches, 5 and 6. Oops. So you should have these pins all on the side. Then you're gonna take your pinchy fingers, your thumb and your pointer fingers with that pinching crab motion, and you're going to pinch the 6-inch pin to the 5-inch pin to create this little mountain. And then you're gonna push down your fabric mountain. So this creates a pleat or fold. And then you're gonna pin it down. Then you're gonna take your 3.5 pin and your 2.5 pin and pinch it together to create this mountain and push it down. And then pin it. And then if you have space for your third pleat, you can do your 2-inch pin, pinch it to your 1-inch pin and pin it down. But I myself even ran out of space. So if you only have 2 pleats, that's okay. The reason why is you don't want to have a pleat covering your pocket. Otherwise you can't put your filter in there. So this is your pocket again at the top, remember? So you should have, by the end of it, I'm gonna pin it down so you see, a hot dog fabric swatch. I have 2 pleats, as you see there, and then my pocket at the top where you can put in your filter. Then you're gonna take your elastic, 16 inches long, or shoelaces, at least 20 inches long, and place it on the left side and the right side. So you have your hot dog fabric swatch. Then you're gonna place your elastic on the left side and the right side. Okay, so I'm gonna move through the next steps a little quickly because we're running short on time, but you're going to, kind of like you're rolling a sushi roll, you are going to fold over the sides of the fabric so that your elastic is rolled into the mask. So see how it still kind of moves up and down? And then you're gonna pin it down. And you're gonna do that, the same thing on the other side. You're gonna roll it over like a little sushi roll or a little hot dog in a hot dog bun. And then you're gonna pin it down. So be careful, there's a lot of pins, so don't poke yourself. See here? I'll show you in a second. See? You have your little fabric swatch with pins and your elastic that is rolled in that can kind of move up and down. At this point, you're almost done with your mask. All you have to do is, similar to what we did in the beginning, that running stitch, you have to sew from the bottom to top on the left side and the bottom to top on the right side. Now be careful because it's a lot of fabric, so you need to make sure your needle goes through all the fabric. So I'm rethreading my needle here really quickly. And if you can't do the back stitch ending, remember our trick, just cut it with enough thread at the end and tie knots like you are tying knots in a shoelace. So I'm gonna just sew really quickly the edges of these folds that we just made on the left and right side. And if your stitches have to be wider, that's okay. So I'm pushing through the fabric and pushing it back up and doing this up and down sewing motion. Just make sure it gets through all the fabric. And if it's too thick for you to push your needle up and down, you can, again, like I said, use a staple or stapler, and you can just staple these sides. So this might take you guys some time. And I know we don't have a lot of time, so you can watch the video afterwards, and Olivia and the camp aides can answer your questions. And they can follow up with us. And we're happy to answer them. Is this your guys' first time sewing? Have you done a hand sewing activity before? Maybe raise your hand if you've sewn before.
Okay, almost everyone.
Wow.
Cool.
Well, it's also great to hear some people have just learned. It takes a lot of time. I've been sewing for over, I don't know, almost like over 20 years now. I am an old lady, guys. But there's so many different things that you can make. Wow, someone made a fanny pack? That's so cool. I would love to see a pattern on how to make a fanny pack. I think that's awesome. So I sewed one side. You guys can kind of see those stitches, and you see my elastic can move back and forth. I'm gonna sew the other side really quickly and then just show you how to tie the knots of the elastic, and then you guys are done. You guys have made your mask. Maybe Jen, while I'm showing these last steps, you can just walk through, you can talk to them about donations and like last minute follow-ups while I'm preparing this last stitch.
Yeah, of course. So as you guys may know, there are a lot of locations or organizations you guys can donate to. That includes local hospitals, homeless shelters, domestic violence shelters, schools especially. I don't know about you guys or if you guys are starting school anytime soon, but a lot of schools are in need of masks, especially as they plan to reopen soon or in the fall. So that's other locations you guys can donate to. I know, Olivia, maybe you can speak to this, but any donations organizations you guys have chosen to donate to after making your mask, we would love to hear more about it. Okay, yeah, some of you are starting next month. So it's really important for us to all be ready and have all the tools and all the things necessary to go to school and be successful and learn, but also be safe, right? And always be protected, protect yourself and the people around you, including your friends, your classmates, and your teachers and your parents. But Olivia, yeah, maybe you can let us know who Girl Scouts will be donating to.
Yeah, so if you go onto the camp website and you go to Tuesday, which is today, at the bottom there's a service section, and we linked there. If you press a button, it will take you to all the places you can donate near you. And we actually have a special challenge, which you might have seen on the website. We're gonna find out which juniors and cadets can sew and donate the most masks. So once you finish this mask, remember to keep on making the masks and donate them. And at the end of camp, once you're done, send us a picture of all your masks and we'll announce who won the challenge.
Cool. We'll make sure we look at your Instagram or whatever, or stay in touch with Olivia. And we would love to hear about how the challenge is going and which organizations you guys have been donating to. But Sarda, as JJ is finishing up, if you guys would like to follow us and just follow our journey, you guys can follow us at United We Mask Official. And again, if you want to donate any materials or any mask, you guys can always reach out to us via Instagram or through Olivia. But before we wrap up, also, Olivia, just wanted to check in with you. We always love to take a screenshot of our workshop once we complete it. If any of you don't want to be in the picture, you guys can turn off your camera, but I wanted to make sure I talk to you, I reach out to you, Olivia, first.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, as they said, you can turn off your camera if you don't want to be in the picture, but maybe in the picture you can like hold up your mask so everyone can see all the awesome work you've been doing.
Yeah, so let's just go through one last step that JJ has for us, and then we can take the screenshot.
So we're almost done, guys. And I see a lot of people's masks already. You guys are amazing. And I'm so impressed by you. Seriously, sewing is a very hard skill. And the fact that you guys have already been using sewing machines, which this is also a lot easier on a sewing machine. And we offer video tutorials. If your family has access to a sewing machine, we can send you those links too. But again, sewing is so hard, but there's so many skills you can use it for. So I'm very impressed. The last thing we wanted to do is, for these elastics, sometimes they fray. As you can see, this one is frayed here. So one way we keep it from fraying is we either burn the ends. You can use a candle and place it to a candle. If so, please ask for guide for maybe like a quarantine buddy or a parent that is older to help you light the ends so that you could just burn it really quickly so that it doesn't fray. Or you can use nail polish and paint the ends. But don't do both, because nail polish is what we call hazmat, which it can explode if you light it on fire. So either paint with nail polish or burn the ends with a candle. Then what you're gonna do is, we like to place a little craft bead at the end to make it adjustable, because all faces are different sizes. And how you do that is, I like personally, you can either just when you burn the ends, you can take the two ends and thread it through the bead. Or if you need help, you can take one of your threads and lasso it around the middle section of your elastic. So it kind of wraps around the middle section, and you take your two ends of thread, and similar to like you're threading a sewing needle, thread it through the craft bead and then pull it through. So that's how you get the ends to go through. Then you just tie the knot at the end so that the bead doesn't fall out. Tie it, and then you have an adjustable strap. And then I'm gonna do it on the other side really quickly. Take my other bead and thread it through, similar like you're threading a sewing needle, and pull it through. Some people can just thread it through without using a needle and thread, and that's amazing. But my ends are very frayed, so it doesn't work that way. And I'm going to tie this in a knot really quickly. So at the end of it, you should have an adjustable, see? So when you put it on your face, your mask should cover your nose and your mouth and go around your ears. And the bead you can adjust in the back to make it adjustable. So there you go, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the tutorial. Maybe we can take a quick photo for those of you who are willing to take a photo.
Yeah, again, so if you don't want them in the picture, make sure to turn off your camera. And if we all pull up our masks to our faces and take a quick picture, that would be great. Oh, I see everyone jumping in.
Or you could just hold it up if you're not done yet.
Cool. All right, I'm gonna count to 3, okay? 1, 2, 3, cheese. Phew, amazing. Guys, you feel free to share any pictures of your completed mask with us, either to our email or tag us on Instagram at United We Mask Official. Olivia can provide all those details. But again, hope you guys enjoyed. This is really fun for us too. We'll provide video tutorials and other step by steps if you need to go through them, and also the recording of this meeting. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll stay in touch.
You guys are amazing. I'm so impressed by your masks. Hopefully you can make one that matches your fanny pack, whoever made the fanny pack. That was really cool.
Bye, everyone. Bye. Bye, Olivia.
Awesome. Well, before you go, thank you so much for leading this. I think the girls had a really good time, so we really appreciate it. And also, I might not be here for all of the second Zoom session, but there are going to be other campaigns there for that one as well.
Perfect. Okay. I'll send
Thank
you
you.
this, the recording of this video right now once I get it. And do you also want the other workshop recorded?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you. That was fun.